Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the New York Sports Club on WICR. I'm your host, Kyle DeVico, joined again by Max Bruckner, Mike McShane. What's up, guys?
Thanks for having us, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Well, we got everything you need to know about New York sports. We're going to talk a little New York Mets and their ongoing NLDS series with the Los Angeles Dodgers. We're going to give you a little recap of games 1 through 4 and get you set with everything you need to know about Game 5 in LA. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cubs winning yesterday, a possible NLCS preview with the Mets or the Dodgers, whoever wins. I'm going to talk about the Giants. They didn't make it easy on themselves, of course, but they got the W. The Jets coming off the bye week, home against Washington. And then we're going to wrap it up with the New York Rangers. Off to a great start, 3-1. Henrik looks good. Everything seems to be rolling, even though they lost 4-1 last night. But without further ado, let's start with the New York Mets. Wow, what a week it's been for that franchise.
Yeah, it's been it's been back and forth, but it's definitely an emotional roller coaster for Mets fans as the Mets go out and they took Game 1, and then you saw the Dodgers bouncing back, and then the Mets after the Utley play, and it's going back and forth, and it's crazy, and you almost don't know what to expect Game 5, but it's going to be a battle in Los Angeles, and let the best team win, I'm saying.
Yeah, and you can't be any happier with what you've gotten from the Mets this season. They've been dominant all year. First place team in the NL East coming in, playing the Dodgers. They got Game 5 on the road, but they got DeGrom going. So Mets fans, you're in a good position, a good spot to win Game 5.
Yep, and we're going to talk a little bit about the entire series. I want to start with Game 1. Obviously, an impressive victory for the Mets, coming out hot. DeGrom looked like what DeGroms look like all year. Dominant, one of the best pitchers in the game this year. I mean, he was dotting up 96, 97. Bruck and I were sitting there like, how is anyone going to even make contact with this, let alone get hits?
Yeah, he was dominant in every facet of the way. He was unhittable from start to finish, and let's hope we get the same outing out of him tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get to predictions later. Don't tip your hand too much. But the Mets have looked good in this series. The Mets, they've surprised me in this series. Daniel Murphy's been a great surprise for me. I mean, I knew the guy was a good hitter, a pure hitter, but boy, 2 home runs off Kershaw. He had 2 home runs all year off lefties. In the playoffs, 2 home runs already against Kershaw, nonetheless.
Like you said, we didn't expect to get this much from Murphy, but he's always had that patience at the plate, that eye to be a really good hitter. He knows the pitches he wants. But this year, you're really seeing him hunting those pitches and attacking in his spot when he wants to. He's driving that fastball. He's getting good pitches to hit, and he's taking advantage of the opportunities. Right now, he's swinging a hot bat, and it's the rest of the lineup is feeding off of him, which is what a real leader does.
Yeah.
So Daniel Murphy, you're seeing a lot out of him this year.
Yeah, and Mike, how about David Wright in Game 1 with that big game tied 1-1, comes up there and gets the big hit off the Dodgers reliever Baez.
It's just huge. It's Wright's always been one of those guys for the Mets over the course of the years, and it's so nice still seeing him in the same uniform. Reminds me of some of the Yankee greats that were coming through the system, staying in the system, being loyal. You gotta like that stuff. He's a hard-nosed baseball player. Regardless of what team you gotta like how he plays the game.
Especially today, too many guys going looking for paychecks, trying to get the extra mile in their paycheck. But he's a guy who's, like you said, stayed the course with his hometown team. He's riding out the franchise. He wants to be a Met. He started his career with the Mets. He wants to finish in New York. So it's good to see him and his career paying off right now. He's, like you said, that big hit in Game 1. So hopefully he can continue that.
Yeah, and I love what David Wright said. I don't know if you guys have seen the Mets postseason video. Guy made it, became very popular. But in it just shows a little clip, and it just when the Mets were struggling, 2-3 years ago, he said, you know what? To be honest, I love the franchise, I love everything, but if I didn't think we were gonna win, I would have went somewhere else. And it just shows that he's always believed in this franchise through the good and the bad. Obviously, the Mets they struggled for a good 5 years, 6 years. They were awful. And David Wright is the one constant on that team. I mean, he's the one guy that's been there and was there to stay. He's been through everything. So it's kind of fulfilling to see that guy come up there and get the big hit in the first game of the postseason.
Absolutely, yeah. It couldn't have happened to a better team guy. I agree with you 100%. He's been a total supporter of the Mets, and I think he's going to only continue that throughout the rest of his career.
Yeah, so the Mets grabbed that first game, up 1-0, and you figure, I said this to a lot of people, Game 2 at LA, they're playing with house money. It's not in any way, all the pressure's on the Dodgers. There's no pressure on the Mets. Playing with house money, they come in, and Syndergaard looked good. Syndergaard was throwing the ball well. What did you see from him, Mike?
I definitely saw the velocity. I kept looking at the radar gun, and I was talking with everyone in the room saying how hard he's throwing. But obviously, in a playoff game, you need to limit the mistakes, and it's not all about velocity in the end. And he was definitely keeping the ball low. But in that game, Greinke was just looking like a Cy Young material kind of guy.
Yeah.
And in Game 1, you saw Kershaw getting beat, and then Greinke beating Syndergaard in Game 2, which for the future kind of just, you almost don't know. You want Greinke to end up doing well, but Syndergaard threw very well that game, but the Mets came up short with the 5-2 loss there.
Mm-hmm. And so now we're going to get into, I mean, I'm sure everyone's tired of hearing about it, but we're going to bring it up again. Utley's slide. We're going to go around the booth here. What was it? Was that dirty to you?
I liked it. I didn't think it was dirty. I thought today we think it's dirty, but we look at Willie Randolph back in the day.
Yeah.
That's just physical baseball. He broke his leg, which is why we're looking at it. If he got up and finished the inning, we'd say, okay, hard-nosed play.
Spend 5 minutes on it. And
maybe a little dirty. It was obviously a dirty slide. Let's not pretend like it wasn't.
But it wasn't malicious. I don't think he was trying to hurt him or end his career. The guy just didn't want to be doubled up.
Yeah. Chase Utley, I don't think is a malicious kind of player. I think he's a hard-nosed player, and I think that's the kind of play it was. It's incredibly unfortunate. He broke his leg on the play, but that's kind of what comes with the territory of sliding in hard into second base the way he did. Like I said, if we were back in the 80s, 1986, something old-time baseball, nitty-gritty baseball, we would have said, okay, get back up, you'll be okay. Let's finish the inning. But he broke his leg today. There's a lot more awareness of player health and that sort of thing, which I think weighed a lot into it. But he didn't play those 2 games. What do you think about not serving the 2-game suspension, but then sitting out those 2 games? Do you think that was a waste of an appeal?
I didn't know what Don Mattingly, I think, has shown a lot of flaws in this series. He's been under a lot of criticism. Just his decision making is just interesting in this series. I mean, that's just one of the things. But if you're not going to play Utley, I mean, he might have said, oh, it was a game time decision. But I kind of think that's BS. I kind of think that it was. He knew what he was doing, and I don't think it would have been smart to play Chase Utley at all. One, you don't want that attention. Move on from it. Enough talking about that. But going back to the slide, was it dirty? No. Was it a hard play? Yes. Ruben Tejada was vulnerable in the position he was in. He had his back turned. He was up in the air. If like Bruckner said, if he had not gotten hurt, we would not be talking about it like we are right now. And, of course, the Mets are playing it up. And, the Mets, rightfully so, used it to their advantage. They have won the introductions, and Utley gets introduced, and the whole place boos louder than, he's a wanted man in New York. I would be surprised if he got home to LA. But, and then they bring out, what do you think, Mike, about do you see Tejada with the cane? They had the Mets cane.
Yeah, that was definitely.
Do you think that was a little much? Do you think they played it up?
I think they did, for sure.
A little bit, but I mean, I still almost have a problem with. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have a problem with still how, going back to the slide itself, of how late it took for him to actually slide. I know that with the base path rule that he didn't go too far over in reality, but I still had a problem with how he ended up starting the slide so late. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, to be honest, Kendrick was going to be safe anyways. So I think this all is a mute point. The game was going to be tied anyways. Yes, Tejada got hurt, but it could be a blessing. I mean, I know Flores is not that great of a defensive shortstop, but the guy can hit. He had 16 homers on the year.
Late homers too,
He's
important
a
runs.
much better. It's not even debatable. He's a much better bat than Tejada. So I think that it's not like it's David Wright sliding in to second base and getting hurt. And it was funny. I saw a video today actually that someone posted on Twitter, and it showed a video of David Wright sliding in and taking out Utley back when Utley was in Philly.
A little revenge.
I mean, it wasn't as gruesome and it wasn't as late as Utley's, but it definitely was a hard slide and feet up trying to take him out. So it's interesting what the scene can do for a topic like this, and I think Utley's he's not gonna live this one down.
Utley's a veteran guy. We have two competing teams right now who are going after each other. Both these teams want to advance.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not get that mistaken. Both these teams are going to do whatever it takes in this game 5 to advance to the NLCS. So we're going to see, even more physical play. I think we're going to see a lot of guys doing whatever they can and by whatever means, but to advance.
Mm-hmm. So, the Dodgers come out with that victory. I think the Mets kind of, tapered off towards the end there. But coming back to Citi Field, and I just have to say, Citi Field looked beautiful. It was nice to see that place jam-packed. The fans were loud. That place looked beautiful for Game 3.
Yeah, it was loud too. The energy was definitely in the building. If they could have, they had the chance. They had the chance to beat Kershaw at home. I think they missed a very big opportunity. They had it, but you can't expect Matt this early in his career to go out and beat Kershaw. I think if he had been in mid-season form the way he was and hadn't gotten hurt and wasn't coming off a little bit of a DL stint before this start, we would have seen a much better Steven Matz. However, that wasn't the case, and Kershaw outdueled him.
Yeah, and going back to Game 3, though, I just want to talk a little bit about that too. When the Dodgers took that 3-0 lead and Granderson had that sloppy throw, Mike, were you thinking what I was thinking? Because I was thinking, wow, here we go, same old Mets.
Yeah.
They're gonna fold. They're looking sloppy. They didn't come ready to play. But then Granderson with that huge hit. Before you know it, it's 4-3. What did you think when they went down 3-0?
I thought it was extremely disappointing for Mets fans, and you could tell, as loud as the crowd was to start the game, it had similarities to that Yankee wild card game of where the crowd was electric, and then by the time that 3 runs came along, it seemed very quiet, but rightfully so. But then the Granderson ended up picking it up with the bat, which definitely helped, but that was pretty ugly for a play that should have been made, or just cleaner at least, but...
Yeah. Yeah, and what I have down is the Mets look like the team they were in August and September in that inning and just the rest of that game. They were going up there. They were being aggressive. Cespedes hits an absolute bomb. Daniel Murphy had a good game too, and just they continued to roll. Granderson had some big hits. It looked like the Mets team that we've seen that we think could make the run to the World Series. And I said after that game, that was a wow factor game for me. I sat back and was like, wow, this team could win the World Series. With the competition in the AL and just flat out their talent and their pitching, this team is a team that I think is a force to be reckoned with. And we'll talk a little bit about it later, but if they play the Cubs, that's going to be a battle. But when we come back, we're going to take a little break. We'll talk about Game 4 last night. And then we're going to get you a nice Game 5 preview. We're going to give you our predictions, everything you need to know before you sit down in front of your TV on Thursday at 8. We're going to tell you. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a sec. There goes my hero. Something